never be in any doubt about what your thesis is. Okay? So the way that you present should never leave the reader confused. Puzzled, like, what is she talking about? What is it about? I thought in the beginning he said that, but now she's saying this. Right? So it should never be presented like that. So whenever you think it might not be absolutely obvious, remind the reader again in your writing, in the new paragraph, in the next unit. Okay? So my advice is, please use this old formula. There's a recipe. Okay? And it's like age old. Okay? So it's like 19th, 18th century recipe. 3 steps. Okay? We follow in your writing. Introduce, right? And then expand. You need to expand, and then you need to conclude somehow. Okay? So I'm not talking about just essay writing. In any kind of writing, even in one single paragraph, we can do that. Yeah. So follow that. Okay? Formula. So how you do is first make the topic clear, and then you expand upon the topic, and then you sum up, tying everything back to the topic. Okay? And it's very important. You need to stay on the topic. So everything in your document needs to be clearly related to the main idea. Okay? So don't worry too much about these sentences. I'm just hopping the same or repeating the same idea. Okay? All right. So how many of you have written literature review before in your life? I mean, in your student life, have you written literature review? Literature review chapter? Anyone? Not yet. But you will have to. But you know what it is, right? What is literature review? Hello? Literature review. Because when you open a thesis in the library, like MA thesis, PhD thesis, chapter 1 is introduction. Chapter 2 is literature review, right? Right or wrong? Yes. Then what is it? What is literature review? Literature review is you try to review the literature. What do you do when you try to review the literature? What is it? You try to read critically, right? And you try to understand what the previous people, the other scholars, the other researchers before you have talked about this topic, right? And then you try to summarize, you try to take out the key main ideas from different sources, and you try to put them together, and you argue. He said that, but she said this, but I think, in my context. So that's literature review, right? So now, especially in your literature review chapter, okay? So staying on the topic does not mean being one-sided. Have a look, think about it. Because you have your topic, and you are so in love with your research topic, your main idea, your topic, your hypothesis, and you believe that it's true, it's correct, and you're trying to prove it in your thesis writing, right? And you are so passionate, so much in love with the topic, sometimes it happens to human beings, you think the other side, the other point of view is not correct. You cannot do that in academic writing. You cannot do that in literature review. You have to acknowledge your own weaknesses of your hypothesis, and you also have to acknowledge the other strong points, the other good things, positive things that the other researchers have talked about. Okay? You cannot be entirely correct. Okay? So at the end of the day, what is truth anyway is relative, right? Okay? So we need to acknowledge that the other viewpoints, okay, the other side, the other, camp, we use the word camp, C-A-M-P, camp in research, right? So the other school of thought also has some valid points, some valid contributions to make, okay? So please be aware of that. So that's why, please look at the last sentence, very important. So you should not be overstating your view. Yeah? So don't overdo it. Yeah? And don't pretend. Okay? The other valid viewpoints exist. You have to acknowledge in your literature review. Okay, so now I'm moving on to talk about another key feature, important feature in academic writing, in formal writing, which is called signposting. Are you familiar with the jargon? Yeah, signposting, right? Imagine you're driving on the high road, expressway, right? And drivers, we need these signs so that we know where we are going and we know which turn we need to take, left or right. And we know which destination that we are arriving. So these signs, okay, are very important on our journey, right? So the same thing that you need to do when you write for your reader. Okay? So we do these signposting to help the reader to understand where they are at in your writing. Okay? So signposting. So that's why my advice, always do signposting in your writing. Okay? So if you know how to use signposting effectively, your writing will be coherent. It will be well organized. Okay? Because the linking devices are there, right? Very important. Okay? So signpostings are using like transition words. Okay? So you want the reader to read your paper from start to finish. So your writing needs to be in a linear progression. Linear. You have to go like this, right? If you go like this, I will feel dizzy. I have a headache, right? So linear progression. Okay? So very important. Whenever you switch topics, like when you are driving, you need to show the indicator line. I'm going right, I'm going left. Do the same in your writing. Okay, so signposting. So that's why we use linking conjunctions like however, as a result, from comparison, right? So you are showing these clues so that the reader understands your focus, shifting the focus. Okay, so can you see them? Okay, some of the examples. Signposting, signaling words. Nothing new, you know all of these already. That's why you are in this room. Your English is excellent. But sometimes we forget to use them in our writing. Okay? So this is more like awareness raising exercise. Okay? So please remember these precious little words when you write. Okay? So you want to give extra information. What signposting you do? You want to add information. Furthermore, moreover, additionally, comma, right? So that's a beautiful sentence, right? So when you begin next sentence like additionally, comma, and you say another thing, wow, that's excellent writing. And trust me, a lot of students, they don't do that. They forget to use these devices, okay? Because they are so lost in the topic and they ignore the fine art of writing instead, okay? Okay, then you want to compare 2 points of view. Similarly, in comparison, okay? And you want to contrast, show the other viewpoint in your literature review. However, in contrast, and so on, right? And you want to show the causal relationship, cause and effect, and conclude the point. You need to use, therefore, consequently, as a result, right? And you want to emphasize the point significantly. Do you use that? Do you use that when you write? You don't, then you should. Yes, but you know, the time will come when you need to use them. Okay, so when you do your research and your thesis writing, and you want to show consequence. You want to show the sequence, ordering. Firstly, secondly, finally, and so on. Okay. Okay. My next point is in academic writing, we don't beat about the bush. Very important. That's an idiom, isn't it? Yeah, beat about the bush. I hate people who beat about the bush because I don't have time for it. I don't have patience. So I ask them, please come to the point. What's your point? What do you want to tell me? Tell me shortly, precisely, because time is important. Right? So, but a lot of writers, let me share with you very quickly my experience. At my university, I remember supervising a student from Middle Eastern country. I think he's from Abu Dhabi, Middle East, right? Arab. So in their culture, when they speak to the high authority, like professor, okay, government official, they begin the sentence with very long introduction. Right? Like somebody holy, this, that, father figure, let me propose this idea to you graciously, and hopefully you will lend me an ear. That kind of thing, right? And they do the same thing in thesis writing. No, don't beat about the bush. So you need to come to the point. Okay? So that's why very important. You write what you mean, and you mean what you write. Okay? All is spade, right? Another idiom. So I'm intentionally giving you idiom examples because we don't use idioms in academic writing. Okay, have a look at some examples. Going the extra mile. The advice is, do not write like that. In academic writing, we don't write like that. Go the extra mile. So in this research, the researcher went an extra mile to collect the data. Don't do that. Don't use these expressions. Okay? And then, hard facts. In this unit, in this chapter, data, you're going to present the data and you are showing the reader hard facts. Don't use that kind of English. And then don't use expressions like crystal clear. Okay? And don't say pretty convincing. You are not talking, you're writing. Okay? So avoid using pretty. And then don't use really. It's really interesting. It's really exciting. I really love you. No, I'm lying. So don't use really. Okay? And then somebody is sticking to the topic. We don't write like this. So never say, I will stick to the main idea. Don't do that. Okay? You can focus, but don't stick to it. Okay? And then some other expressions like readers being turned off. Okay? And looking at the time. Okay, so another point is, in academic writing, it's very important we avoid redundancy. Redundancy. Do not overwrite. Don't overdo it. Be short, be concise, and be precise, and we go right to the point. Okay? So don't be redundant. Right? So look at the example. The first example. The final outcome will be good. No, that's a bad sentence. Right? Yeah, so just say the outcome. Because the outcome is the end result. Final. So that's redundant. When you say outcome, that adjective final is redundant. So avoid this kind of writing. Okay, another bad example. My insurance is cheaper in cost. No. Cheaper is enough. Right? You don't need cost. I know you're talking about the money. Okay, so don't mention cost. And then, thank you in advance for your help. I see this sentence a lot. In email, in business writing, no. You will be surprised, when you see the native speakers, like, people from England and US, when you send an email to them, they'll be giggling the whole day. They find it really funny because these days, people do not use language like that anymore. Because these are cliches. So we avoid them. Okay, so moving on very quickly. So in, formal writing, don't say, I wish to thank you for. You don't need to do that. Just say thank you. You want to thank. Don't wish. Yeah? So be precise. Look at another funny example. The training gadget was round in shape. When you say round, I know you're talking about shape. Right? So these are very bad examples.